Welcome to Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hey everybody, Shauna Corden here. So really glad to have you with us. Welcome. We're glad you're here as part of this journey. This month we're really talking about the theme of business planning, and we've covered a couple of lessons already. So you can go back to podcast 84 and 85 if you missed the first couple steps. But today we're going to talk about step 3, which is really casting the vision. So when we talk about casting the vision, we're saying, let's paint a picture that's so clear that all of our employees, our stockholders, our supporters know where we're going, and they feel really good about it. And they can connect the dots from what they do every day to the vision. They see how they are contributing to the vision. So let's break it down. So why do you want to have a vision? You really want to provide a map for your organization. Now, when I am talking to my coaching students and I talk about the importance of a coaching agreement, and that is for the session, it's kind of like setting an agenda for a meeting and what are the objectives of the meeting and what do we want to get out of the meeting. And the analogy that I like to use, I think is really fun, is, hey, you and I are going to go together on a hike, and you and I have decided we are going to go to the peak. And there's a fork in the road, and all of a sudden you start going towards the lake versus the peak. Now, as a coach, I don't set the agenda. The client sets the agenda. So I'm just going to observe. I'm going to notice, hey, earlier we said we were going to the peak. I noticed we're going to the lake. Do you still want to go to the peak, or are we changing direction and we're going to go to the lake? And it's totally up to the client what they want to do. Now, this is not the case when it comes to employees following their leader, right? In a coach and client agreement, we're equals, except that in the case of this coaching session, the client always sets the agenda. It's not the coach. And so what we want to make sure that is when we are in a leadership role, the leader sets the vision. We don't want to just show up one day and the employees go, hey, well, what if we did this? You know, that could have you end up 20 degrees somewhere else if it's not part of the vision. Now, we definitely want to incorporate their ideas on how to get stuff done, the order, you know, what's most efficient, things like that. But when it really comes down to the vision, followers are looking to the leader to provide it. Where are we going? What are we doing? We're really kind of programming that GPS for focus. And people want to be able to connect those dots. Here's what I'm doing that contributes to our vision. We don't necessarily need the final address. In all my years of business planning, there are emerging situations in the market that cause us to pivot, be a little bit more agile. But we do need the direction. We want to know that we're going north, not south, etc. So the other thing that the leader does is they really set how big or small the vision is. Where are we going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Really at 10 years, you're daydreaming. Think about technology 10 years ago. Very little of what we take advantage of today exists. But we do want to just set the direction. We're going to keep updating this as we go. So how fast are we going to go? What kind of traffic patterns might we run into? These are all really important for people to understand. This is where we're going. This is what we want to do. And they feel confident in following it. Have you ever followed a leader who you just went, why is this person in the front of the line? Why are we taking their direction? They don't know what they're doing. That's often very disheartening. People lose confidence. And they start to incorporate what I call the FUD factor: fear, uncertainty, doubt. And it pervades all their actions. So they're always kind of hedging their bets. And you really need to be confident in that vision. Now, is it okay if somebody says, hey, well, what about this emerging situation? By all means, certainly incorporate that. You may need to pivot. You may need to expand, contract, all kinds of things. I don't think we would have expected, in the last 6 weeks, we've had like 4 major banks fail. That would cause some reconsideration and direction in some cases. Another thing that might show up is changes in laws or situations. Are there new regulations? Are there new things we need to be aware of? So the vision really creates a map and a route. If we go back to that hiking analogy, we are going to take this route. We can anticipate we're going to hit this first milestone at this amount of time. And, what I love, the National Park Service has a very amusing Twitter account. And they posted this thing like elevation may appear higher than, or maybe higher than it appears, because when you look at a map, everything's flat, of course. So is there an elevation gain? Meaning, are we going to have to work a lot harder this first quarter because we haven't hired enough talent, or we don't have all the tooling yet that we need? We're in cramped facilities because we're getting ready to move into a new property, things like that. Do we have enough fuel? Are people really tired from the previous quarter? I can tell you from my days in corporate, when our CEO said, this is the most important quarter of our history, career, whatever it might be, I was like, yeah, I've heard that before. I was really motivated and really ready to jump in the first couple of quarters. About the 4th time I heard that, I went, yeah. So make sure that you're using that crying wolf, deliberately, and you're not overusing it. So, is there a point where we get to rest? Is there a point where we expand? We, upgrade the hardware, something like that. Is there a really great sight to see? I had a client years ago who got to bang the bell, I guess it is, for the IPO of their company. And that was something on her bucket list. And I thought that was really great. So that might be a sight you want to see on the way. You're gonna expand. You're gonna open a new facility. You're gonna land, this perfect client that's gonna make your life so much easier. What else is out there for you? And you want to make sure everybody knows the route you're gonna take. If you're an employee, you want to know where we're going. Okay. So the team needs confidence. I know where I'm going. I know my part in helping us get there. I know what's expected of me. Now, the question I often get as a coach is, well, what about this detour? Of course there will be a detour. When you move furniture or you rearrange things, there are always going to be dust bunnies that require extra cleanup that you didn't necessarily anticipate. Well, in that case, just know you're going to have to take some extra time. That's just the way it works. You're not perfect. Your vision is, you're not a mind reader. You're not a seer. Everything is going to have some challenges with it. Know that your vision's not perfect, but you are going to adjust as situations come up. Acknowledge that unexpected construction that you run into to your staff. Yeah, we didn't see that this bank was going to fail. We didn't foresee this situation. I mean, how many people were foreseeing the pandemic, right? So acknowledge it, choose the detour. It's better to decide and make a choice and move quickly than to hem and haw and go back and forth. That's going to erode confidence from the team. You can always course correct. You can always, route back if it turns out that was the wrong decision, but making a decision is the best thing you can do in terms of the data that you have available. So how to form the vision? You really want to just take some time away from the office. As long as you're bombarded with the regular things that happen in the office, whether it be a fire drill or whether it be just, interruptions, you're not going to get very far. It's best to narrate a story. What is it doing for your customer who is being served by your product? pick a day in the life of what it does for this person and how your mousetrap is better, whatever it might be. So, all the data shows that when we show statistics to people, we tell stories to people, or the third option of showing statistics and telling the story, the thing that's most compelling to people is just the story. They can anchor into the emotion of the story. They get excited about it. That's what's motivating. There is a 25% of the population who really questions and wants to know the data. But if they can buy into the story, if they believe in it, they're not going to be so picky about getting all the details of that story. Also pick a day in the life of the employee that is serving your customer. What's it like for them? Why are they so excited? Why do they feel good about working at this company versus your competitor? How many customers do you have? How much are you doing in sales? How many locations are you at? And write some aspirational customer testimonials. I just saw a really great one the other day based on the Ring video doorbell, where a woman was notified that her husband had fallen out on the porch. He'd had some kind of health event. She was able to call the next door neighbor to come over and call 911. 911 got him up off the porch and saved his life. That is an amazing testimonial that says, this is how our product helped. Now, I'm sure that that was not necessarily the intention. I think when Ring was first developed, I'm sorry, I can't remember the entrepreneur's name, they were trying to deter thieves and things like that. I don't think they ever anticipated that it would save someone's life. So that's pretty amazing. All those things that we talked about, customers, sales, locations, all those things, you want to weave this into a story. The first pass, I wouldn't take more than 2 hours to do it. Don't try to make it perfect. You just want to get it out there and let it marinate for a little while. As you get more data, as you learn more things, you'll be able to refine it, make it more compelling, turn it into your pitch deck, whatever it might be. So now what? You've got the vision. Hone that story, add some visuals, again, infuse it with emotion. So again, saving someone's life, that's pretty compelling. What is it about that story that inspires customers, employees, makes potential employees want to work there? All of those things are really great, and just keep sharing. It'll feel like you're a broken record, like you're telling it over and over again, and you're like, I'm sure they get it, but I promise you, you will know it far better than anybody else, and you want to make sure that your employees can also tell the story. So when does the story come true, and can they tell each other this story? So if you don't have your vision right away, or if you don't have it now, don't worry, but do work on it right away. Again, if it doesn't need to be perfect. If you haven't touched on your vision for over a year, it's probably time to do a quick refresh. Be sure you do it after you form the values, after you determine your focus, who you're working with, what you're providing, and then from there on, yearly, use the input of what's happening in the marketplace, what are the conditions, what are the trends that are out there, new technology, the economy, things like that. So if this is your first time joining us, know that this podcast is also on YouTube. We have fun little graphics. You get to see my smiling face. I am indeed smiling. We do want you to invite your friends, because a rising tide lifts all boats. We want you to grow together. We really want to see organizations thrive. We want work to be fun. We spend a ton of time at work, probably more than we do with our families, so it better be rewarding. If you're new to Shauna Corden, I offer leadership coaching. I do workshops, both in person and virtual, and I consult and mentor organizations in building a coaching culture. You know, how to hire external coaches, how to promote internal employees to be internal coaches, and training your leaders with coaching skills. If you are in the HR community, I will be speaking at SHRM in Las Vegas in June. I'll be speaking at the ICF conference in Orlando in August, and I would love to see you there. Please let me know if you're coming. I would love to meet you in person. Until next time, take good care.